listening to the Hurdy Gurdy Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Vacula, here to help you travel the world at next to no cost with credit card points, miles, benefits, and rewards. Make money, save money, and take advantage of great deals. Thanks for joining me for podcast episode 72, Scaling Up Credit with guest Heidi C. Heidi talks about her travels with family and how the miles, points, credit, and deals game helps her make and save money. Before today's discussion, a quick show note. I'll be hosting in-person monthly meetups in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania with the group Greater Philadelphia Travel, Credit, Miles, and Points. The first 2023 meetup in January had about 10 people and was a great success. The next meetups are scheduled for February 19th and March 19th, 2023. I hope to see you at an upcoming meetup. Find more information at meetup.com/Philly Miles and Points. Find a link in the show notes. And here's today's episode with Heidi C. So we met in about 2018. You were working at Starbucks at the time, and I was coming in early in the day as I had a commute to internship and work at the time. And I was chatting with you about travel, and I think it was one day where you were saying, oh, hey, how are you able to travel so much? Or what do you mean? You've been using credit cards to travel? What's that all about?
And it was very interesting, and I was wanted to see how it was because at the time we had a house fire, and we were in a situation living in a hotel, and it was something that we needed to do is to travel.
Yeah, and I thought that was actually interesting. Of course, no one wants their house to get caught on fire, but it's like, oh, wow, so wait, your insurance is reimbursing you for some home repairs and you're living in a Hilton hotel at the moment?
Right.
It's like, oh, wait, so they're going to cut you a check for the things that you have to replace? Oh, very interesting. So, you could sign up for some new credit cards, put the spend on those cards and get totally reimbursed and get all these points.
Right. Remember how nervous I was when I met you at Panera Bread? And you were like, you could do this, you could just apply and you'll get approved. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to. And then I did. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, a little bit of a process because before you were chatting with me, you maybe only had like one or two credit cards and you weren't thinking about getting sign-up bonuses and some of the things that we're doing a few years later, right?
At that time, I didn't have any credit cards because I was like, if I need to buy it, I'll pay with cash.
Oh, but your husband had
one or two,
He did,
yes. Right? And with the home reimbursements with the insurance, I met the sign-up bonuses before you knew it. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And it was great. Yeah, and actually living in a Hilton hotel was pretty interesting there because you were able to use the Aspire card for all of that spend at the hotel and get all the bonus points too. On top of the sign-up bonus, the benefits, and all the other shenanigans, right? Mm-hmm. So we started with those two, and it was, hey, do you want to do some more of this? You want to sign up for some more cards? Right. It was always scary, until I hit about my 8th or 9th card. And then it wasn't so bad. And then when my husband found out, he's like, you need to stop getting all these credit cards. And I was like, no, but look what we get from these sign-up bonuses and with the insurance reimbursements. Like they were reimbursing me for everything, meals and laundry and everything, gas. It was great. And every item in the house that I had purchased.
Lots of spend, so really good timing to do all this stuff. So over time, we scaled up. We got more cards. Once the insurance wasn't paying for stuff, we were talking about, actually, there are some creative things that you can do to spend, maybe without really spending. And a while ago, I remember one of the first missions that I sent you on. I said, hey, Staples is having a sale right now where you can buy some prepaid gift cards with no activation fees. And hey, you could take those to Walmart and transfer the funds from the prepaid cards over to a reloadable debit card, Bluebird. Right. And now, unfortunately, that's largely dead. Mm-hmm. The war on happiness strikes again. But how was that going into the store and trying some of these advanced plays?
It was one of my first in-store deals at Walmart was with the Bluebird, like you said, and I was so nervous. And I was literally trying not to shake while I was standing in line. My hand was shaking, just doing the whole transaction because I was like, I put this money on the card. I don't know if I'm ever going to get it back. And what happens if this doesn't work? And it was just terrible. But the transaction went through and I almost ran to the vehicle so that I could calm myself down and call you and be like, I'm shaking so much. I can't stop shaking. But it worked. It worked. Yeah, and then
Yeah, it wasn't so bad after
no,
all,
it
right?
wasn't. It wasn't bad at all.
Now it's years later, and it's like, oh, I just got back from Staples. I actually went to like 2 or 3 stores today, and I maybe went to like 10 visits the whole week, and oh, it was no problem. They were really friendly. It was great.
It is great, yeah.
Our buddy Frank from Office Max, now over at Staples, who's had a quite the life change.
Right. Yeah, right. And they see me so often that like I have a relationship with them now. So it's like even with COVID, when a few people, were there for a short period of time, so then the staff was constantly being replaced. But there's some of the people have been there for quite some time and went through COVID, and it's great to see them because they're just like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, you're going to get some Visa cards, the no fee sales, fee-free sales are on. And, and I was like, okay, if you don't mind. No, nice to see you. It's a good conversation.
Yeah, it's funny. So some of the cashier is really friendly, and in some cases, oh, you want to get some more? Hey, if you want to do another transaction, feel free to do that. So that's really cool when that happens. Not always, right. Especially with the newer cashiers.
Well, you remember Frank, but now he's just like, okay,
yep,
do whatever you want. You want to get another one? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you want to come over here on this side of the register and punch some buttons? Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had that happen yet, but that would be fun if that were the case. So yeah, a few years later, maybe you were a little bit nervous at first or skeptical or, oh, how am I going to do this? The finer points of credit, but over time and having experience, it's been a pretty easy transition.
Right, and look at how many mistakes I made, but they were just learning experience, and thankfully they weren't, a huge impact on me by making the mistakes that I made, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything like missing a payment and having to pay interest or anything like that. It was like, okay, well, we could just use this benefit a little bit differently, or, oh, maybe use the wrong card for this purchase, and you could have gained a little bit on another card, like small things. And I think that's the case with almost anything. You're going to start, you're going to learn, you're going to have a lot of questions, but over time you get the hang of it. Yeah, just the learning experiences. I always encourage people to start small. Some people just want to keep firing and like start with like 10 cards. And my recommendation is usually like, hey, just get 1, maybe 2, and then move up from there if you're comfortable. Right. We don't want to be missing sign-up bonuses or spending too much, and we can't handle that. We don't know what's going on. We have like $5,000 in Visa cards, and what are we going to do with those? That's never been the case that we've been in.
No, definitely not. And I don't recommend that to anyone.
Right. And how has it been scaling up, managing all these different accounts? Because a criticism from some people is, oh, I don't know if I can organize all of it. It seems like too much work, too much hassle.
Scaling up, I was so a little nervous every time I applied for another card. And it was pretty easy meeting the sign-up bonuses, also with the help from like the insurance reimbursements. But like I never took on too much than I could handle. And so, if it was 2 or 3 cards and I had a certain amount, I would just, take notes. I'm old school. I don't put anything in my phone or in notes or anything. I write everything down and I refer back to it. So that's what works for me. It doesn't maybe work for everyone, but I don't think that me doing this, putting it on the paper has, hurt me at all. So reaching the bonuses, it was easy.
Yeah, and it's a little bit to remember of, oh, this card bonus is gas, this card bonus is grocery, whatever, but you can always look back at notes, and I do that too. I use Evernote, spreadsheets, Google Docs, all these things to help me keep organized, but I think those are just the smaller details, but the main thing is hitting those sign-up bonuses, getting those cards, getting the spend in, and you've also been able to put some pretty big organic spend, right? You've had some dental work and some other things that were some bigger expenses that you were able to put on credit.
I did, yes, which was great. I think at one point, I applied for like 4 or 5 cards, and I think I put a lot of the dental work on those cards for the sign-up bonuses. And that was done. I was like, I didn't even have to stress over it. Not that I really stress, but it was easier than easy, if I could say that.
Okay, so you mentioned we got the Aspire card, you got the Chase Sapphire Preferred. What were some of the other credit cards that you got approved for? You had the Business Platinum, the Business Gold. You also got the Delta Reserve as well, right?
Yes, and I got the Altitude Reserve, the Chase Sapphire, like you said, and now the most recent was one of the MGM Rewards card.
Yeah, the MGM MasterCard, which is another interesting one, and I plan to put out an episode on that. I've touched on it before, but it's really interesting because you're not a gambler like me. You don't play poker, although we're teaching you blackjack and you've been working through that, but you've been able to go to Atlantic City and go to the M4 Lounge, get some free nights. So how was that experience as a non-gambler, just going into the casinos and getting a bunch of free stuff?
Well, it took me a little bit to figure out like my way around the casino and to go to the rewards desk and get everything on my card. But as far as like now, it's becoming more recent that I'm traveling there, and it's great. It's $12.50 in comp dollars, and then we get free drinks and a nice dinner. And sometimes we'll go like early for like a later lunch, and then later in the evening, my husband and I. So for $25, the both of us could eat. And then with the comp nights, it's great. I mean, and then with the gas rewards from Giant, we drive out there with minimal charge for gas. And, I think the most expensive thing is the tolls, but with everything else, I think it's just, that's not even a problem.
Yeah, very minor. And for listeners, the Giant gas program as we have here in Pennsylvania, a lot of great gift card deals giving us points to bring the cost of gas very, very low or zero in some circumstances. So it's been really great. Hopefully we see that again through 2023. What was your first miles and points trip? You mentioned some more recent things like Atlantic City, but what was the first trip you went on and how did that work?
The first one was the Las Vegas trip that we took for 7 days. I think you mentioned, I don't know if it was called the flash sale on the points, but it was at Harrah's in Las Vegas, and then it was with the round trip airline.
Oh, that was the Delta Vacations deal. Yeah, that was what the Sky Miles were getting 1.5 cents per point, or maybe double value at the time.
I think it was like 40,000 miles or something for my husband and I.
And you got the hotel and the flight.
Yes, we did. Trip. And we don't gamble, so we just stayed in the hotel. We rented a car, and we went to the Grand Canyon, the Hoover Dam. We went to Oatman. We saw some friends and family out there. Like it was great. It was like when I was a little kid, my biggest dream was to go to the Grand Canyon. So, for a year, I was telling my husband that, we're going to the Grand Canyon, we're going to the Grand Canyon. He's like, no, we're not. And when I was building up all these points and everything, because, he's not a player too in this game. So he wasn't convinced in the beginning, but once it came up, I was like, I'm booking this trip. Are you going or not? And he was like, fine. I don't know. And then we went and he was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, and I never thought from, I don't know, maybe I was 10 or 11 that I would ever see the Grand Canyon. And I've been there 3 times already since then.
Yeah. People talk about, oh, it's a once in a lifetime experience, or, oh, travel's too expensive. And I'm like rolling my eyes, or I'll try to say to them like, actually, that's not true. Right. And then some people, unfortunately, just don't want to play ball, but then they complain about being broke all the time or not.
Or traveling. The one trip they take a year because that's what they save up for.
Yeah, so we're here to encourage people like, hey, that's not true. All these things you've been saying about travel being expensive, if you can manage this, and I don't think it's quite a burden. If you could just be responsible with your spending, follow a good strategy, you could definitely travel on the regular. Yeah, and maybe not everyone out there is going to get 10, 15 or more cards, but even I think getting a handful of cards a year is a pretty reasonable, modest goal. And some other trips that you've had in addition to Vegas? Well,
I took my grandkids and their grandmother and I, the 4 of us went. I have 2 grandsons, and we went to Hilton Ocean City Oceanfront Resort, and we used 4 of my Hilton certificates, so that was covered. 4 nights was good, but it was oceanfront. We got the highest floor. It was the most beautiful hotel, and they really enjoyed it. I don't think, that once a year trip that people talk about, that would have been one of those, but I don't think it would have been one that I could recover from and maybe do another trip like that the next year. So it was just phenomenal. And then we got the food credit at the hotel, and then I used my resort credit, my $250 resort credit there. So food was not an issue. No. We did a little things outside of the hotel, activity-wise with the boys, playing miniature golf and ice cream and stuff like that. But we had a full kitchen, so we brought all our food there for the most part, and then we had breakfast down in the restaurant at the hotel. And it was it was so enjoyable. It was really enjoyable. And again, we used the gas to get down there. We took some extra cans that were full and used some on the way back. And it was a nice trip, and it was relatively inexpensive. And again, if I did that with just saving up the money, then I wouldn't recover from that the next year and be able to do that again. It would have had to been something else.
Yeah, maybe each night might have been like $200 or $300, and you're paying full price for the food. You had the $250 resort credit from the Aspire card with American Express, and then you had the Hilton status that gave you the free breakfast every day, right?
Yes, it did. And it was great. It worked out perfect. We planned what we were going to eat to use up the credit, and then the rest, we had food that covered our whole breakfast, like in our room. We would sometimes eat it at the restaurant or sometimes bring it back to our room, and it was perfect.
Yeah, and do you think the grandkids would have ever had an experience like that if it weren't for Miles and Points?
Oh, absolutely not. Like maybe once a year, because as you know, that we hike a lot and we camp. So, we pack our lunch, we pack our backpacks, we go hiking, and we take our food and snacks with us. So as far as like the beach and other experiences, like I took David to Harrisburg to a museum, and we stayed at a Hilton in Harrisburg, and there was the lounge there, the executive lounge. Yeah. And so we went there for like the cocktail hour, and there was a little snacks out there and everything. And that was another trip that I took my first grandson before my second one was born. But it was great. Like, no, I would never think that I could do that.
Yeah, that was probably more free night certificates, points, or resort credits that you had at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and you went to Lancaster Hilton Doubletree Resort,
I did.
Right? That was
another one. The only thing that was the downfall on that was a little bit after COVID, but there were still some restrictions. So I had the resort credit, and for 2 nights I was there, but there was not, the breakfast wasn't open. Like you could do the breakfast buffet, but there was no lunch. So then they only had the restaurant at night. So it was, and then the pool was limited, and there was a couple things that were limited just because of staff and because of COVID situation, but we made the best of it, and we still had a good time. And we managed to spend every bit of the $250. I think I spent $253.43 or something. So we stayed right on budget.
Yeah, I went there by myself, and I had to use some of the resort credit on the gift shop on the way out. So I ended up with a Doubletree hat and a tumbler. So I even got more than just the one free night using the $250 resort credit. So that was
that's
pretty
nice.
Cool.
And you did the Wolf Sanctuary, didn't you?
Oh, yes, the Wolf Sanctuary in, I think it's Lititz, Pennsylvania, Speedwell Forge area. So that was an interesting experience. That was nearby, maybe a 30 or 40-minute drive. Right. So a nice area in Lancaster, lots to do beautiful. And see. People have talked about train museum out there. You see the horses and buggies and all the farmland. Right. So, yeah, lots to see and do. And the pool area there was pretty interesting. I remember there was a sign that said that no birthday parties were allowed. So I guess at some point someone had an idea of, let's just pay for a hotel room and let like 15 teenagers into the pool area.
Oh, that's bad.
It was pretty busy in there and pretty loud.
Yeah, they have the 2 sections of the pools too. For the younger kids to the right with like smaller slides and stuff and waterfalls. And then they have the other pool. It's a bigger pool for adults and like teenagers and stuff. So it's nice.
So I think at one point you ended up with around like 750,000 Hilton points or more. How many have you had at one point?
Right now I'm up to 1.7 million.
You transferred a lot of the membership rewards over to Hilton with the promo,
I did,
suppose?
Yes.
The past bonus points promotion? Yeah, because you didn't have many plans to fly internationally or really fly it much because now you're working in schools and you're not able to travel as much. And how was it traveling with the grandkids? Were they playing ball? Were they open to the travel experience? How was it with
they'll
them?
do anything. We talk about it. We pick a place. My oldest grandson is 10 and a half. He'll be 11 in March. So I said, where do you want to go? Pick the place. And then our new thing is like last time, like do some research, tell me what you like about the area and show me where it's at on the map. So he's like learning a little bit about, geography area. And so, he said he thinks he wants to go up north this time. So I said, well, pick it. Yeah, we took him to Niagara Falls, but on the New York side. And we took him to the Strong Museum. And then we stayed in Hilton up there. And that was like a 2-day trip that we spent with them. And I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, otherwise it would be very expensive because, yeah, you're working in school, you're working as a teacher's assistant, and this has been a pretty comfortable side hustle, huh?
And definitely. And then my second grandson, when he was born, he was very sick. So then he had to go down to Philadelphia to CHOP many a times. And then whether he was staying or not, can they drive? They've been up for 2 or 3 days taking care of him, taking turns. So I would just go with them, and then I'd use my points at the Hyatt or at a Hilton, and they would rest, and then I would spend the time with my grandson and take care of him while they slept. So, I mean, I wouldn't not have been able to do that. I mean, I probably would have been putting myself out if I didn't have the money just to help them through that situation, but it just worked out. Like, if you need it, like, let me come with you and I'll help you and you guys sleep and I'll get the rooms. And that has been probably 4 or 5 times I've done that.
Yeah, it's like in case of emergency, break the glass for the fire extinguisher. But for us, it's in case of emergency, deploy the points and miles.
Exactly.
Yeah, we always have them in our back pocket in case things like that come up. And I've heard other stories too where, say, a family member would die and people were able to fly out and they wouldn't have to sweat it of, oh, I don't have the money right now. You know, you hear these people who are just using debit cards and cash, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know how much is in my bank account, or I overdrafted it, or all these things could happen. But for us, like, okay, we have extra money behind because we're making and saving money using credit cards, and we're getting that little grace period to pay off these cards. Of course, we're not overspending, but when things happen, maybe like car repairs, some other emergencies, we don't have to sweat it. There's a lot of peace of mind there, I think.
There is a peace of mind, which recently just happened to me. I had several car repairs. My car was down for almost a month, $1,800. But, you know, we have a cushion for that. My husband's like, go to the bank, get the money, go pay the bill. And I was like, nope, using my Altitude Reserve mobile wallet, and I'm putting it on the credit card. And then when the bill comes in, then we'll pay it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, an Altitude Reserve for listeners. So every time you're using the mobile pay feature, you're getting 3 times points or 4.5% back. So you've had that come up a lot.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I think I feel like I'm lacking in that, but I have 80,000 reward points.
Yeah. Oh, that's not lacking at all. That's
Is
pretty
it?
good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've been splitting tender a lot. So can you talk to the audience about splitting tender and the magic of that, especially with the Altitude
So
Reserve?
splitting tender with the MGM card. Because you get 2 times reward points at grocery stores. So I would, we buy MasterCards, and then I will do 2 or 3 of them, depending on what store it is. And then I'll put most of it on the MGM card, and then the rest on the mobile wallet, Altitude Reserve, to get points there.
Yeah, because unfortunately we've heard people getting shut down by U.S. Bank for a lot of higher purchases at certain retailers, especially grocery stores. So I wouldn't recommend for people to go out there and put like $1,500, $17 at your local grocery store. But what we're doing is say, hey, we can put maybe $1,200 and change on a seasoned card from a bank that doesn't really care, like FNBO, and then we'll put the rest of it on Altitude Reserve, like sub 300. That seems like a grocery purchase rather than something that's like so obvious with the gift cards that they might not like.
Yeah. I think the most I put on the Altitude Reserve mobile wallet is like $322 or something. But recently it's been like less than $100 because I've been using it frequently just to get the max out of my MGM card on my credit limit.
Yeah, it's really interesting with that MGM card because the 2X comps are more like worth 4X when we're using them for the M4 lounge and buffet with the $12.50, as you mentioned. I would pay like $20 to get in the lounge or the buffet. Yeah. So maybe even 25. So I think that's a really good deal. And we're working together. We've made this pact for 2023 that we're going to get to the credit limit every statement period, or at least try very hard to do that, to try to get MGM Platinum status in 2023. So we'll see how that works, as the tier is gravy. The tier credits are gravy, and the comps there are really good. So even as you just going to Atlantic City maybe every 2 or 3 months, you're still definitely going to get the value.
Right. There. And then I plan to go to Las Vegas this summer. I'm off June 1st till August 27th. So And then,
Oh, okay, nice.
then when I plan these trips, and then my husband will say, oh, there's a, party at here, and do you want to go to it? And I'm like, I don't know, when is it? And he's like, I don't know, check your schedule. He's like, stop planning all these trips. And then he like laughs, he's like, that's too many trips in a row. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll find somebody to go, or I'll just go myself. I don't want to miss out on these opportunities. Yeah. There's just too many things out there,
Yeah, and even if it's just a few trips a year, that's fine. So I've not been so thrilled about back-to-back trips, and I think you had that experience recently where you come back from a 7-day trip and then the next day you leave and go on another 5-day trip, and it's like, oh, this seems to be too much in a short amount of time.
Right, and you were talking earlier about like some of my trips. One of the trips, besides that Las Vegas trip, my husband and I took that together, but we recently took a trip with 3 other people that joined us on our trip to Arizona. And we went to Arizona, and then we went to Phoenix, Arizona, then we went to Flagstaff, and then we went back to Phoenix, Arizona. And it was like a 12 or 13-day trip we took. And it was all me with the hotels, and, I divvied it up, and I split the fees with everybody, and the flights. I booked everybody's flights, and then they reimbursed me, but it was nice. Ooh. And the year before, we did Florida. We did Fort Myers and Sarasota, and we did Fort Myers for 4 days, and then we did Sarasota, and then we went back to Fort Myers, and then the people that we were with, we rented a house with a boat, and so we were there for 12 days. So the most of it was, the 8 days in the hotel were with my points. And then my husband and I flew with our United Miles, so we didn't have to pay for the flights. I wouldn't be able to do any of that, going to Fort Myers or going to Sarasota and getting a hotel. And we've done so much that 12 days, who thinks they could go on a 12-day trip, And I know
yeah, or not as often.
Yeah. Right. And I know other people are, they go out of the country and they're on a bigger scale and everything, but right now this is where I'm at, and this is what I want to do, and I'm so blessed to be able to do that with this opportunity to be with this Points and Miles.
So you traveled from the Wilkes-Barre area all the way out to Willow Grove, and what was your experience with that?
It was well worth meeting everybody, and you and I talk quite frequently, but seeing and meeting everyone else and knowing them through the group, it was real nice to be able to hear how and what their future plans are and their strategy and how they do what they do. So I could see myself scaling up at that point, or I should say at some point, but maybe not right now because I'm still in the growing process.
Oh, well, you've already done a lot. I wouldn't want you to give yourself lesser credit for sure. I mean, scaling up, you have 15 cars or more at this moment.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, a lot more than, say, maybe coworkers who only have 1 or 2 or none, or they're using cash and debit for everything, right?
Or no one that they just shop so they can get points to get a free turkey.
Yeah, or we said it was back in December of 2022. Hey, all you have to do is go to Weiss and buy what was a $75 Amazon gift card, and you would get enough points to get a free holiday item like a tofurkey or vegan ham, lasagna. There were some other options. Mm-hmm. And what the response from a person you knew was, oh, I don't shop at Weiss, so I don't want to go there.
Or the other woman that I work with said, that seems like too much trouble. I'm like, so for you to spend $200 to get your free ham, that's not a lot of trouble. Well, we need groceries anyway. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's at some point you're trading your time for money, because if you're working and maybe making $15 an hour after taxes, or maybe even less than that, it sounds like a lot of trouble to maybe spend about 10 or 15 hours of your time for that holiday item versus taking maybe a 5-minute detour to Weiss, maybe buying a gift card and spending on Amazon that you're going to do anyway for your holiday shopping or personal use or whatever. And then you just get the free item at the end of the rainbow.
And they all eat the eggs in the morning for breakfast. And so I was like, well, if you have 100 points at Weiss, you could cash them in for 18 eggs. And at that time, it was 99 cents. And they were like, yeah, that seems like a lot of trouble to do that. So then I bought 3 packs of 18 eggs. And I said, here, you ladies can have them, because eggs were like $4.50 at that time. Now they're like $6.99. And they were like, thanks, we really appreciate it, but you could take them home. And no one wanted the eggs. And I was like, they're good for like 5 weeks, and I just got them yesterday, and they were only 99 cents. I was like, try to gift them eggs. They won't even take the gift of eggs.
Yeah, sometimes the war on happiness is self-imposed, as we're out there saying like, hey, these are some things you can do. And yeah, okay, maybe like 15 credit cards isn't for everyone. And again, people certainly shouldn't start that way. But there are some small steps that everyone, I think, can do. But some people just don't want to play ball. It's really wild to me.
Right. The same thing with the gas points and the gas.
Yeah, for spend that you're going to do anyway. Like, everybody's going to go to a grocery store at some point and get things. So why not just shift your shopping patterns a little bit to get a huge bonus? I find that to be a very easy concept, personally.
I agree.
Yeah, or even the Target red card debit card was something that you did. Now, I know it glitched out for some reason, and at first you didn't get approved, but then eventually you got the card, and that was a very easy $40 coupon.
It glitched out 6 times, and then I think in the one group that we're in, you shared it with 1 or 2 of the new members, and then I was like, I think you mentioned me or something. So I'm like, I'm going to try it one last time, but I'm just going to keep trying it. So I did it, and I was like, oh my word, it worked. It was like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, the skeptical people out there is like, oh, it's not going to work out. You're not going to be able to use your points. You're not going to be able to do this. Things aren't going to work out. I'm like, okay, sometimes they're a little bit of an issue, but it wasn't like, oh, you used your points and then you get to the airport. Oh, sorry, you booked it with points. You can't get on the plane. Now you need. With anything, not everything is going to work 100%. Some things are just not going to work for whatever reason. I mean, how many times we've gone into a grocery store and they say like, oh, our system is down today, so you'll have to come back at another time.
We're out of paper for money orders.
Yeah. It's like, all right, well, we're already there for another reason, so whatever. And we try to plan our trips efficiently where, okay, well, hey, I'm already on the way to destination X, and I could just stop here on the way rather than like making a one-way 15-minute trip and then going back home. Like, that doesn't really make sense. So we're trying to be smart with our time with all this.
Yes.
Yeah. What else would you have to say to people who are negative about this hobby? They're on the fence. They're not sure what to think about it. They think it's a scam. They think it's all fraud. Like,
I would think that if they were going to try something, they should just do something small. And if it works out for them, like even like you said, the $75 Amazon gift card at Weiss, and then you get the points and then you get the free ham. I had a lady at work that couldn't walk much, and she's like, I have to go to 7 stores and get all these gift cards for Christmas. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you just go to 1? And she's like, where would I do that? And I was like, Weiss. And I'm like, and then you earn points for your ham. And she was like, what? And so she actually got, I think it was 7 or 9 gift cards. So she got most of all of them except 2. And then she said, and not only that, I left there with a ham. So I was like, finally, somebody gets it. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand, but you know that when we have the conversation with the people and we say, hey, you could do this, and you could, like the Target Red Card, like tell 2 or 3 people that I work with that shop at Target all day, every day, do you have the Target Red Card? Well, no, I don't have it. And I'm like, well, you could get it. I could send you this link. Like, I don't know if they think I'm going to steal their information from their phone or what, but their social security number or their income tax record. I don't know, but they're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'll have to look into it. But they never say, yes, send me the link. And it's like you easily get $40 just by hooking it up, linking your information to it. And you don't even have to use the debit card that you link to the red card. You just get a store card and you scan. You could use another form of payment when you get there.
Right. Can you talk to the audience about some checking account bonuses that you've done, how that process has worked?
I know that you do them on a bigger scale than I do. So I have done them. I probably have done like 5, 6, or 7 of them. And I don't do 2 or 3 at a time just because that's just how I work. I'll do 1, and then when I'm almost done with that, then I'll start another one. But it's easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy, especially with the gift card buying and reselling, and then the direct deposit. You just change the information with the direct deposit on your gift card buyer that's going to send you the direct deposit payment.
Yeah, and for listeners, we've been doing a lot of reselling with certain promotions, like, oh, we'll see, look, Home Depot gift cards are 10% off right now on this particular website or with this particular retailer, and we have someone buying them for more than 90%. So it's a pretty easy flip to acquire the gift cards and sell them. Or even organically, like when you were at Starbucks, you would just log on to an online portal, change your direct deposit information, and I'll put it with Citizens Bank, and they're willing to give me $300 signing up for a checking account and linking my direct deposit.
Starbucks was easy for me to change my direct deposit, but where I work now, it's just not convenient for them. I don't change it.
We just do it with our online buyers for the gift cards, and that makes it easier. Yeah, and I sell stuff on eBay, so I can move my direct deposit on eBay around. That's pretty easy for me, and I imagine listeners might have some access to move their organic direct deposits around and hit those requirements. And if people don't have direct deposits for some reason, then there are always deposit bonuses where you can sign up for an account with Discover, a savings account with Discover, Citi, many other banks if you have more money sitting behind. And you could do some of those. Like one with Discover was interesting because all I had to do was transfer funds in, and they didn't even have to stay there for 90 days. Just had to complete the transfer, and the bonus money showed up.
Yeah, those are nice. And another thing I learned is that once the opportunity is there, you have to jump on it because you don't know how long it's going to last. Even though it says it expires in like 30 days or 45 days, like it could just end in 10. You know, you go to...
Yeah, or even overnight.
Yeah, you're right. Overnight.
Yeah, I recently had some mail offers from American Express. Apply before January 31st, 2023. And I go to enter the code and it's already expired. Thankfully, I had another offer, an email, but yeah, it just goes to show that the codes might not last very long because I was in a bit of a timeout period because it was 90 days between applications for that particular card. So I couldn't fire immediately, unfortunately. But then when the time came, then that offer was over.
Right.
Yeah, so act fast and ABL, always be liquidating. You know, we have all these prepaid cards that we use. You've gotten into some of the online gambling with DraftKings, some of the other sites. We met in Atlantic City and we went through some site bonuses that we were able to get on various sites. So even though the Wi-Fi at Ocean was terrible, the Wi-Fi at Ocean Casino was terrible, we were still able to get through some of these sites and pick up some quick $50 bonuses and cash out some funds through the online.
That was
election.
fun.
Yeah, some really easy opportunities there. And I think one of the best was Giant last year was offering 5 times points on sports betting and casino gift cards. So that was just an insane opportunity to buy some cards, get the rebates and gas points, groceries. And I think it was one of your grandkids who said, hey, Heidi, your home kind of looks like a grocery store. Like, why do you have so many groceries?
My grandson, they were like, I said, well, we're going to have lunch soon, so let me know what you want. And they were downstairs, and the 4-year-old comes up, and he was like, Nana, why does the basement look like a grocery store? And I said to my husband, I said, Papa, I said, why did he say that? He goes, well, you told them to figure out what they want for lunch. They were down there shopping, and he said to them, what do you think you're doing? And they're like, we're at the grocery store shopping what we want for lunch. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, we bought shelves, we bought freezers, we have a whole room that literally looks like a grocery store. And you know, it's stuff that'll last us. It's not anything like that's going to expire soon. So it's a good thing, like in our paper products and everything.
Yeah, really funny when some of these really gangbusters promos go out and I say, hey, I'm going on a world tour. I'm going to stop at like 5 or 6 stores today. And it's like, oh, I can go to the local ones. I can go north up to Bethlehem from Philly area. You know, it's just like so many opportunities that pop up where it's just so profitable to stop at all these places because the amount of spend we can get in on the credit cards, getting all the rewards, working on welcome bonus spend, retention offer spend, high spend goals for all these bonuses. It just gets really wild when some of the promotions are really, really, really good.
And then in your area, you have the Acme where you earn your points and then you get $20 on groceries. Oh, yeah. But then I have the Price Chopper. So it's like, I'm always like, oh, I wish I had Acme. And you're like, yep, well, I wish I had the Price Chopper.
Yeah. Price Choppers had some generous promos as well. And when they run it's like 5X on all or most gift cards, the Game On, the sports betting casino cards work for that. So that's been really generous from them. Yeah, and using some of these funds, so we found profitable sports betting opportunities, which was something that I wasn't very aware of because my specialty's in poker. But I've branched out. I've learned blackjack basic strategy. I've been doing that for a while, and that's been really, really good using the bonuses, not only getting the deposit bonuses and the other promotions, but it's like, hey, look, if I'm using the Amex Gold card to get 4x points, and I'm putting this money through, okay, I'm giving up about 0.5% in blackjack to the house, playing basic strategy, but I'm getting the grocery rewards, I'm getting the credit card rewards, so the spread is just really tremendous. So yeah, some blackjack play, but we've also found some sports betting opportunities. And I think one of the more interesting ones was a week of NFL where they had on DraftKings a promotion called Early Win Token, I believe it was, where if a team was up by 7 or 10 points, at any point during the game, regardless of the outcome, the bet automatically won. So you were able to get some action down. You were able to get like $200 down per game.
Yes.
How was that?
Well, it was scary because I put a lot of money out, but I was just like, you walked me through it and you were like, this is how it goes and the stats are, it's going to be good. And I think I made out. I think I put in what I spent and then what I won, and I won like almost like $1,400, $1,500.
Yeah, it was a really, really wild promotion. And I think in some of the games, there were actually fluctuations on both sides where one team was up by 7 or 10, and then the other team was up by 7 or 10. So both sides of the bet won on the same game, which was really funny. I remember there were some articles after that promotion where DraftKings was talking to the media about how they lost money on the promo. They won't be offering it again. It's like, oh, good, we got in while we could.
There you go. Another dead deal.
Yeah. Another dead deal. Yeah, there was one for NBA today on January 10th we're recording, but that was only $50, and that was only one game. So the 76ers happened to get a 10-point lead, so that resolved. But yeah, the NFL promos were really lucrative. Or at one point we were doing the no shutout bets. So how was that one for you? Those were pretty interesting.
They were scary because I don't gamble. I don't bet. But I was going with the group and I was like, okay, you guys got all those in. I'm going to do the same thing and I'm hope for the best. I remember that one day my husband was like, what did you do? And I was like, oh, I bet like $1,800. And he's like, you're going to lose every bit of it. And then I was like, I never even brought it up to him how much I won. I was like, I'm not even going to tell him. Like, he was just in shock. And the same thing with the game on Sunday. And he was like, why would you put $800 down? You're going to lose $800. And I was like, I think I have a good chance. What is the chances that they're not going to score? And he was like, what are you going to win? I'm like, $8. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
You don't understand. I'm getting the credit card rewards and the spend, and I'm getting my $800 back. He's like,
yep.
That's what he said.
Yeah, so these are really easy opportunities to get the money through, give the action, and sometimes they email us and say, hey, we're giving you a 25% deposit match bonus. And I was able to a few weeks ago deposit $800 and they gave me $200, and it was only a 1x playthrough opportunity. So these come pretty often. So there are some that are skeptical of like, oh, you're risking a lot to win a little. And yeah, that has some truth to it. But if it's very, very, very low chances of losing some of these bets, I'm pretty happy taking those low chances.
Right.
And getting all the bonuses, the spend, and all the other things, rather than just like straight up betting and losing money as most people do. Like a casino, I see people with these complicated parlays and they're betting at the kiosk and they have all these papers, and it's like we're doing it online. We're trying to gamble with an edge here and trying to push advantages where we can. So the synergy is really great with all the promotions on the acquisition side, loading to the sites and then playing through the funds.
Or us trying to buy gift cards that are, so many times, 8 times at Giant, and we have to wait in line because so many people are standing in line to buy lottery tickets because the lottery is...
Yeah, I was just at customer service today, and it was, let me put $20 on the Mega Millions, and I'm thinking to myself, that's just $20 in the trash right there. So it's unfortunate to see people want to pay for the dream, I guess, but I'm out there saying like, hey, make better bets, be more responsible, rather than just straight up gambling.
Right.
That's not what I'm for. And the same thing with credit, to be responsible. Like, don't go out there and just buy all these random plasma TVs, Gucci bags, or whatever random expensive things. Like we have some Saks off Fifth Avenue credits, and there are like $3,000 coats on there. It's like I don't need a $3,000 coat. I don't even.
I've gotten so many nice items from that Saks credit. Although right now I don't have the platinum card, but it's okay.
Yeah,
but I've gotten a lot of nice things.
Yeah, some little benefits here or there, and the lounge access. Like me, you've gone to the airport early on purpose just to use the Centurion Lounge with American Express.
Yes, and again, my husband would say, "Well, why are we going an hour and a half early with that layover?" And I'm like, "You'll see." And then he was fine once I took him there. He's old school.
Yeah, and the Delta Sky Club too.
Yeah, he's old school. He doesn't want to play the game, so I'm only player one. There's no player two.
But at the airport, he did appreciate the lounges, I remember, whereas some other people are going and spending like $10 for draft beers at the airport. We're able to just go in the lounges and not pay anything.
I remember before I started doing this when we traveled, and he was just like, we're going on vacation, and he's like, let's just get a beer. And he got an IPA one time, I remember, $14. And I was just like, no, I'm good. Like, I'll just wait and get a bottle of water. $14 for a beer, I'll never forget that.
Oh, no. Yeah, as we could go in the Centurion Lounge and they have all the specialty drinks. The same thing with the Sky Club. They have a lot of complimentary drinks there. So really cool, especially leaving Philadelphia, leaving Las Vegas, some of the lounges that we've had.
Friends of mine, they travel all the time and they look forward to getting to the airport and going out to dinner.
Oh, no. Yeah, and we've also talked to you've also talked to some people who are actually playing slot machines and getting the benefits. And I've heard this, you've heard this, that I'm mad that you're able to get all the benefits, but I have to play to get my status. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Right. And then they say they status match, but they status match because they spend so much, and then they got a credit card from the casino, and it gives them this, it gives them that. And I'm just like, I kind of don't know what you're talking about. I don't play to earn status or points to go to the lounge or get comp rooms. I just get them with my status matching.
Yeah, they're not really getting comp rooms if they're playing slots. They're losing 5 to 10% house edge, and that money can go really fast on the slots, even if they're playing the so-called penny slots. You can get a lot of spins in 1 hour, and they're spinning maybe $1 to $5 a spin, and they're just getting crushed over the long run. People might want to say, oh, I got my free meal, my free rooms, and I don't think that's accurate at all.
No, I agree. It's not.
Yeah, maybe they're getting some entertainment. Maybe they like doing it. It's like, okay, but I'm always out there saying, hey, there are better ways to do this. That if you could just status match in through credit card benefits, through different ways, and we quote unquote play the My Vegas games and get lots of benefits.
I've even shared that with people because they've seen me just have it on auto spin when I was out, and they're like, "What's that? What are you gambling?" I'm like, "Nope. I just log in, create this account, and then I get loyalty points and I get credits through the hour, and I just spin. And then when I get enough points, I could buy hotels, I could buy like hotel nights, I should say, a free room, and then other things if I go to these other casinos." And they're like, you don't pay for any of that?" I'm like, "No, want me to show you?" And they're like, "No, we go there. We love Ocean. We go there to play." And they're like, "What machines do you play?" I'm like, "We don't play any machines."
None. Yeah, it's like I see some of the games that are in the My Vegas games in the casino. It's like, ooh, that's Lotus Land. Interesting. but I just walk by.
Yeah, when Vito and I just went this past time, he was like, "I'm just going to throw $20 in." So I'm like, all right, whatever. After like a 5-minute conversation. So he sits down. He's like, "Do you know where I put the money?" I'm like, "Nope." And he's like, "Do I need your card?" I'm like, "Don't know." And he's like, "What is this button for?" I'm like, "No idea." And he was like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, "This is the reason why you shouldn't do it." I'm like, "You have no idea what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, just don't do it. Like, don't. Just drop it on the floor and walk away."
Yeah. People have this idea of, oh, I just hope I get lucky, or, oh, it sounds like fun or whatever. But I don't want to live a life on hope. I want to make positive expected value bets and just make good bets about things that I'm taking calculated risks that make sense, that are going to pay out in the long run. Just like with these credit card programs, you hear some of the skeptics like Dave Ramsey leading the war on happiness of, you're going to go broke, you're going to lose it all, you're going to be in debt. But that's clearly not the case when we're managing credit
Right.
responsibly.
When we were at the Borgata and we were standing in line, the line because of the holidays was long, and the couple next to us, they said, maybe we should just go eat dinner somewhere else, and then we could go get drinks at the bar. And I was like, oh no. You don't want to wait? I'm like, the line's moving quickly. And they were like, no. And I was like, oh. And they were like, well, why don't you just take your comp dollars and go somewhere else and get like your drinks and get something to eat? And I was like, yeah, no. I'm like, this costs $12.50. I'm like, why would I go anywhere else? Yep. I could get, not that I would eat a lot, but I could eat whatever I want for as long as I want and drink top shelf drinks if I wanted to have more than like one or two drinks instead of, and they're like, oh, we'll just sit at the bar and play and then you get free drinks. But I don't play. And they're like, well, how'd you get your comp dollars? And I was just like, do. I was like, yeah, we don't play. And then they were complaining about the gifts they were giving away. And then all the gifts were given away that however they earn them, I don't even know. And so they were giving them $30 in comp dollars, and the lady.
Oh, what a great thing! Rather than the
juicer, that's what it was. It was the juicer, and then she was like, "You think they would have given us 50?" And I was just like, like, why wouldn't you just be happy you got 30? Because you could have got nothing because they were out of juicers.
Right. Yeah, with those promos, they always say, like, while supply lasts, or management reserves all rights, or whatever fine print. Yeah, so we've just found a different way to do things, and the people are mad about, oh, what do you mean you didn't play, or you able to do this, or whatever. So it's just saying, hey, there's just another way to do things. I remember a Facebook group I was in, I posted about the M4 Lounge, and I got my comp night. And people were really mad about it and saying like, oh, why are you able to do this when I can't do this, that I have to play and I'm playing slots and I've lost, thousands of dollars to get my status. It's like, well, why don't you just do the same thing? Why be mad about it? Or if you don't want to play the credit card game for whatever reason, or you can't, it's like, well, congratulations. What a victory that is. I'm happy for you. But it's just misery with some gamblers sometimes.
You're always willing to help anyone that reaches out to you and needs advice or assistance in trying to figure out what they could do that fits them best. So all they have to do is ask.
Yeah. There's not just one way. There's not just one card. There's not just one path. It's just going to be different from person to person. I think there are better ways than others for sure. But yeah, it's not going to make sense for you to get a Hawaiian Airlines credit card, for instance, if you don't have plans to go to Hawaii, right? We're getting some points with flexible cards. We're getting cards that make sense for our situation. And we're looking at high overall value rather than just, oh, well, look, this card gives a $100 sign-up bonus and maybe I get 2% back on gas purchases.
And not to bring it back to the egg situation, but the ladies, that I know, they complained about how much eggs are. And I was like, well, if you're not going to take the eggs that I buy for 99 cents, because I really don't want $1 from you, then you could just use my phone number and you could go get your own eggs. And you could save like the $3.29 because they're $4.29 for the 18 eggs. That's what it was at the time. Believe it or not, they're $6.99 at Weiss now. And they said, no, thanks. I appreciate that. But I was like, well, why wouldn't you just want to save a couple dollars? They were like, it's just a couple dollars. I'm like, but you eat eggs every day, and for one whole year, a couple dollars, how much can that add up to? That's a lot of couple dollars. That adds up to a lot of money. And then they like looked at me like, okay, but never said anything. I'm like, you don't have to pay me to use my points because I'm going there to buy the Visa, the MasterCard gift cards to earn points on my card. And not so much because the points aren't worth much at Weiss. So it's a benefit you get them, but to us, they're no value unless we get eggs. And my store doesn't give you ice cream. If it gave me ice cream, Vito would be like the happiest cat in DuPont.
Yeah, hopefully not getting into degeneracy, though, and just eating like tubs of ice cream.
No, but I mentioned it to the manager there, and he's a young gentleman, and he said, I have never heard of that. And I said, can you check the screen? And he said, absolutely. He checked the options, and he said it wasn't on there, but he said that he was willing to send an email out to corporate. And I said, just go on the Weiss couponing Facebook page and you'll see that there's posts on there about how you could use your points. And he said he was going to do that and look into it. So that'd be great because just like Price Chopper. Remember I went there for gift cards and the points weren't posting, and the manager automatically added them to my card for it was like an 8 times per gift card, and she sent an email, and then like 3 days later I went back and she was like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, I sent an email, let's see if this worked. And then the points wound up posting, and like she went above and beyond to make that happen, so who knows, maybe we'll be able to get ice cream at Weiss and Duryea.
Yeah, possibly. And I always say with these deals, like, start small when there's a new promotion and we see that the points post, make sure to check your receipt, stuff like that. But they've been good about adding them if you let them know about the promo and then they don't show up on the receipt, because sometimes the system isn't updated on the first day, or there's some issues, or the system glitches out or whatever. But I haven't had any significant loss. I've been able to get my points one way or another.
Yeah.
And we're not up there like screaming or complaining or whatever, or I'm going to call the police, or I've seen some people flip out at customer service. Or there was the one couponer in one of the Facebook groups that we were in who was talking about, there was this promotion for mayonnaise, and I bought 4 tubs of mayonnaise to save $4, and the expiration date said it was the end of the year, but they expired now. And there's like this photo of like green mayonnaise, like expired mayonnaise, and all these people in the comments like, call corporate, you should go back in the store and get a refund, and all this. It's like, wow, interesting. And then we told them about like, hey, there's a better way to do this with the gift card deals, getting points, and they were really nasty, threatening to kick me out of the group, and all this is like, they're saying, you're being negative, Justin. Oh, why are you being so negative? It's like, it's not being negative, it's just saying, look, there's another way to do this, and probably a better way to do this. So why be buying up all this mayonnaise to save $4 when you could just get flexible points and buy whatever you want, get a much more significant return?
When you're almost out of mayonnaise, just go buy more mayonnaise. Like, why do you need 4?
Yeah. So they're thinking they're saving money, but maybe not, or they're just buying more stuff just because there's a deal. And the deals come back. So it's like, okay, do you really need 4 jars of mayonnaise at the same time? And personally, I don't even have any mayonnaise in my fridge, and some of these people are like buying all this random stuff like, oh, I got the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce and the old El Paso taco shells, and it's like, well, maybe that doesn't quite make sense. If you're just like buying extra stuff to save, like, is that really saving? I'm not really sure that's the case.
And I've noticed, which I mentioned to you before, is if they do have a good sale on something, if you check the expiration date, like, okay, so it's January 23, this stuff might expire in August of 23. I think once they get rid of that round, the next product that they bring in expires like a year and a half later. I think maybe because of production and everything shutting down, there's a lot of stuff that's left behind and that they're trying to get rid of. But I definitely always check the expiration date, especially on a sale item. I definitely do it.
And with our excess points, like you mentioned, getting things like paper products or things that aren't really expiring. Like, I have tons of printer paper at home, and I'm usually using printer paper with my eBay reselling with things I need to print. So it's like having a lot of printer paper isn't a hassle. I have extra room here. It's fine. I don't need tons and tons of space, or putting stuff in the freezer. No problem.
Like the boys' snacks. Like, so I buy their snacks, but when I don't want to buy one pack and then I get them in 2 weeks, I get them, 4 days, and then their snacks are gone. And then I'm like, oh, I got to go grocery shopping. Like, I don't want to have to go grocery shopping. I want to go when I'm like going my rounds and doing my errands and getting my gift card deals and stuff, So if I could get them,
more efficient.
If I could get their snacks and then check the expiration date, and they don't expire until like February of 2024, I'm going to buy 5 or 6 boxes, and that's it. I'm done. Oh yeah, I'll use them, especially like not so much in the winter because they have school and I don't get them that much, but in the summertime, like I get them often, and like we'll go through it. But you have to, if you're going to coupon or get something on a deal and you're spending your money, why wouldn't you look at the expiration date? You don't want to walk out there and find out like 3 weeks from now it expires and then blame the store. You're the one that purchased it.
Yeah, it was a very, very interesting post. And that wasn't the only one we saw like that. So a lot of people, as I said in a past episode, the couponers were missing the point, as you could like do the couponing and adding all the other stuff, but lamenting all the other stuff. Like the one poster was, oh, it sounds like it's too much work using the credit cards.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, so interesting. So you're sitting there literally clipping coupons and going through flyers to save the 50 cents or 75 cents here or there. but you're not willing to sign up for a card to get a $750 sign up bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We try to value our time well, as they're accusing us that we're not using our time well, and we're looking and seeing that it doesn't seem to be a great use of their time. So,
or the other reason they have is, I don't think I could handle that, or I don't think I could do it. And it's like, well, I'm just telling you, I've even shared rebates for food items with people, and they were like, well, I don't eat that, and I don't want that, or it's at a certain store and they didn't want to go to the store to get it because they shop at this store, but every now and then they shop at the other one. But this week wasn't the store where that coupon was good at. They weren't going to do it. And I was like, I'm just do what you do. Then I don't know. They make up excuses that don't even make sense.
Yeah, it's sad. We try to help them, but I guess if they don't want to do it, then eventually we just move on. Because I've had people saying, yeah, I should get started. And it's like, okay, well, when are you going to do it? Or what's preventing you from doing that? So maybe they're just not really serious about it. People say they want to do stuff, but then end up not doing it. And then it's a year and a half later, or occasionally hear oh, well, I ended up just paying for that overseas flight. Oh, it was $1,800, but whatever. It's oh, you could have, you could have just saved that money. And then another day they're talking about, oh, I have to work 3 separate jobs, or I'm always broke, or I'm paycheck to paycheck. It's here's a way out of it, even to do some things rather than nothing.
I don't know. What else can we do? Just draw a map?
Yeah. Just encouraging people to start small and not take on too much at once and build up as you get more confident. Give yourself a chance rather than just saying you won't be able to do it.
Yeah, one thing I've thought about in the last few weeks was how nervous I was through every step in the beginning, and then there's, steps that I'm still learning and I'm going through, but I'm not as nervous. But it's if you don't ask and something happens, every now and then when I would go, oh no, I got this. I'm not going to bother Justin because he's busy, or I'm not going to message the group because they're busy, or, it's in the middle of the workday, and I would take it on my own. And then there would be a little flaw in my transaction, and it was just oh no, you just should have just shoot me a message, and, that wouldn't happen. But I'm well, it won't happen again because I already made that mistake.
Yeah, and not a huge deal. Yeah, it's not
no.
It was oh, maybe there was a different order to do things, or it could have been a little bit easier.
When I did the Lowe's deal with the $50 off on the American Express, off of $250, and then I went in and only spent $250 when I could have spent $400. That was a good example of I walked out of there, and then after I did it, I was why did I even do that? Why didn't I just get the maximum amount for the gift card?
Yeah, so nothing too major. What I did with that deal is I did $300 on one card, and then I did another transaction with a different card, and was able to just get more spend in on that visit to make it worthwhile. But they're just lessons. And when I started, there were certainly things that I've improved on, or things that I've added, or different approaches that I've taken. So it's a learning experience, just like with everything. You work in school and people are learning languages. It takes some time. It takes some time to master some of the concepts and build up.
Right.
So it's been pretty fun. It's been challenging. It's been figuring out this big game or puzzle, and even 4 years into it, 5 years into it, I still have a lot of fun with this. It's not just people are saying oh, it seems like taking on another job, and okay, it can have some aspects of that, but hey, what are the rewards? Getting to travel so much, saving money, making money. I'm game for that. It's a hobby that's profitable for us, rather than many others where people are just pumping money into it.
This is how when people talk to me about it and they say oh, well, how many hours do you work? I'm I work as much as I want to put into it, as much as I want to get out of it. If I'm busy with the boys for 3 days, I kind of shut down. I don't do anything, and, we all know what fourth quarter is. Our heads are to the walls.
Yeah, it was a lot going on November, December. Yeah.
Right. So it's those days, and my friends are what do you mean? You can't get together? It's the holidays. I'm yeah, I told you last year it's fourth quarter. I can't. When I'm, all right, fine. And then they'll be can I call? Are you on the computer? Are you doing your gift card stuff? But other than that, through the year, the first, 3 quarters, well, actually the first 2, because I think they start picking up on the later part of the second quarter, and then into the third, and then the fourth is crazy. If you want to work, you work. It's not even work, but if you want to get something out of it, then you put the time into it. But if you need the time away, I think it's perfect to do it.
Yeah, we're just doing it on the time that we choose. And some of these deals are like time limited, so we want to get on
Right.
them. But yeah, there are people out there doing a lot more than me. I know there are people, I'm doing the reselling on eBay. Some people are managing warehouses.
Wow.
And they're hiring employees and keeping track of all this inventory. So they're doing a lot more than I am. And it's like, okay, maybe that's not for me at this time. But just because I'm not doing everything I possibly can doesn't mean that I'm not getting anything out of it.
Right. Me too. Like, I always get something out of every day. I know that, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and some days that are off days where, it's a slow deals day or whatever, it's like, okay, well, we'll wait for something else to come along and we'll have those opportunities. But there are also a lot of 24/7 deals where it's like, hey, we can go to Weiss, we can go to Giant. Those are like opportunities any day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So something there. It may not be as dramatic as some other deals, but still something like, oh, you have some free time and you want to do something on the way back from work. It's like, okay, I'll make a slight detour and do
Right.
that.
That's what I did today after work.
Yeah, some mini world tours.
Yep.
All right. To close out, anything else you'd like to add? Maybe any advice or recommendations for people just getting into this or considering it?
If you're slightly interested, maybe start off with something small that you could accomplish, and we're always here to help you out. And Justin, you're a good support, and so is the group. So if somebody could benefit from doing a little bit of something, that's great. And then maybe they could see the advantage of doing more.
Yeah, and by the group now, it's the Philly Miles and Points on Meetup, meetup.com/Philly Miles and Points. Greater Philadelphia Travel is the name of the in-person meetup. So if you're somewhat local, or if you're in the area for a week or so, you're welcome to come to some of the meetings. And yeah, a lot of different Facebook groups we've participated on. So there's a lot of communities out there that can be really helpful. Or like on my website at hurdygurdytravel.com, of course, there's the free consultation form where I'm happy to take a phone call, happy to communicate through email and offer some recommendations. So I encourage people to contact me before applying for stuff. A lot of people have gone rogue over the years, and I've come back and say, oh, but there could have been a better card you applied for. Or, oh, it would have been nice if you went for this, or you could have considered Chase before some of these other banks. Or, people are signing up for like random store cards. Like I saw Burlington Coat Factory. It's like, sign up for a credit card and get 10% off your first purchase. Like, oh, that's a really bad deal.
Yeah, I know somebody that does that.
Anything else you'd like
No,
to add?
thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for future episodes. Visit hurdygurdytravel.com to contact me, find me on social media, read episode transcripts, and schedule a free consultation. Support the show through Subscribestar, referral links, and buying from my eBay store. Find the show on many podcast platforms and YouTube, where you can find bonus videos. Supporting me on Subscribestar will give you special perks, including a custom podcast episode, questions answered by upcoming guests, and monthly private one-on-one conversations, delving into more advanced topics I don't openly discuss at length in podcast episodes. Visit meetup.com/Philly Miles and Points to learn about Greater Philadelphia Travel, credit Miles and Points meetups I'll be hosting in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. I hope to see you in person at a future event. Find a link in the show notes. Listen to my other podcast, the Stoic Solutions Podcast, found at stoicsolutionspodcast.com. My podcast guests and I offer practical wisdom for everyday life, inspired by the ancient tradition of Stoic philosophy from Greece and Rome. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.